Hello friends, I want to take this opportunity to say hello and to welcome you to the brand new project that I've been working on for the past couple months called 21st Century Disciple. This really is kind of a lifelong culmination of a lot of things in my world and to interface with what's going on in our world around us as well. I had intended to make this announcement later on once I had a lot more of the other things in place. But the circumstances of the past couple of weeks have sort of helped convince me that it's time, prepared or not, it really is time to set things in motion. The vision for 21st Century Disciple is to build a community of people who love God, or would like to, who have a hunger, who have a desire to investigate what it means or what would mean to have a relationship with God, and to investigate what it might look like in real time to be literally a disciple or apprentice of Jesus in the here and the now in the 21st century in America. And not just a quote-unquote believer, someone who has all the facts down pat, or just a quote-unquote Christian. Because that term, even though it's a wonderful biblical word, it has lots of negative connotations in our culture today that really are quite contrary to the way of Jesus. The YouTube channel and the Facebook group are already created, but they're not officially live. So you're welcome to go over there and join those and all those things. But there won't be any much action over there or conversation for a little bit yet. There'll be a lot more detail coming out in the next few weeks about all of this that we have planned. So keep your eye out for that information. Of course, if you want to go ahead and jump in and you're interested and to being notified when we put up new videos or have new information, you know how this works. Hit the notification bell, the like button, hit the subscribe, and then I'll make sure that you have all the information that you need for everything we have coming up. I don't think there's ever been a time in my life that I have witnessed the kind of division and animosity and polarization that I see in today's culture here in America. Of course, there's always been conflict and always been opposing political and cultural voices, and we've certainly been reminded of the tense days of the civil rights movement and all of those things. There's always been these voices speaking very loudly at each other. But it seems that today, that conflict and polarization, along with a deep disregard and disrespect for other human beings, is at an all-new high, or as an all-new low, depending on how you look at it, as the case may be. And to be completely transparent, for me, it's very, very draining and demoralizing. I don't spend very much time at all watching the news or anything like that, because this atmosphere is so septic. And it really is my personal temptation. That is what the thing I would really like to do, what I really want to do, is disengage and withdraw and leave the noise and the conflict and all these contemptuous people really to their own devices, and to just retreat into my own little world and write music and just do the things that make me happy, take care of my family, take care of my company. But I can't do that. And I can't because not only do I have, I feel a calling on my life to speak and to teach and to communicate the love of God to the world around us. I also can't because the noise and the conflict and the contempt and the animosity and the division and the polarization, all of those things involve people. And those people are my proverbial neighbors, who I'm called to love so intentionally and sacrificially that only love for God himself is to be placed above that. Or so says my rabbi. So out of concern, really, for all of those things came this series, Bricks in the Wall. And really this series is my humble effort to engage with these issues that we're facing today, and hopefully be at least a point of light, a point of hope, a place maybe where some insight can be gained and how we can collectively might learn to navigate this critical time in history, so that we can look back on this season and know that we were part of making things better, rather than the alternative. And to know that we helped tear down the walls that divide us as people and as human beings, instead of being there helping to stack the bricks to build the wall. And because my feeling is if we can learn how to at least start pulling some of those bricks out, maybe we can create some holes. And if we create some holes that allow us, maybe then we can see other people, and then maybe we can hear what they have to say, and maybe even reach through and embrace people that we have not heretofore been able to do. It is important, I think, to note that my approach to any subject when I'm speaking and teaching is unavoidably oriented around the teachings of Jesus. I'm a lot of things as a person. I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a father, a friend. I'm a musician and songwriter. I'm a business owner. And certainly I'm an American citizen. And I certainly love and appreciate everything that means. But first and foremost, I'm a disciple of Christ. My first commitment, my identity, my first allegiance resides in that relationship. And everything, including how I view the world, the people, society, I see it through that lens. Now, I work incredibly hard to not be blinded by that lens, but I'm self-aware enough to know that it does create a measure of bias for me, and I accept that, because the truth is we all have biases. We all have conditioning that helps us see things in a certain way, in a certain light, and that's okay, because it's part of being human. But it's in accepting that, being honest about that, and navigating those biases together in love and kindness where progress lies. It just takes the effort to step outside of ourselves. But with that said, it is my hope, even that if people discover the series who aren't coming from the same place that I am in my faith and my relationship with Christ, that they'll still find value in this conversation, because so much of what we recognize as basic morality and universal human decency in our culture, in the Western world, is consistent with and arguably is derived from the teachings of Jesus, whether or not we actively recognize that or not. So, with that said, what is the series about? Where are we headed? What are we going to be looking at? What are we going to be addressing? And the simplest way I can answer that is we're going inside. As I have watched the spiraling madness of the past few months, I feel like I've identified a number of both relational things, but maybe even more importantly, attitudinal bricks that are extremely effective at building a wall of division and misunderstanding between people. And you can see them everywhere, every single day if you open your eyes at all. One only need to turn on the news or peruse your social media news feed, and you'll see it everywhere. All the conflict, the contempt, and the things that people do to build these walls. And chances are these dynamics have already affected you and already bother you. If you're this far in this video, certainly you resonate with that dynamic that's going on in our culture. So the vision for the series then is to identify these bricks that are building the walls, these mindsets, these attitudes, and these modes of operating, and to take the time to stop and to hold them up to the light and to examine and evaluate them, and hopefully toss them over our shoulder and trade them in for material that's better suited for building bridges in relationships and in culture and society than building walls. some of these topics, they're really interrelated. There's a lot of overlap, and it's like so many things in life, one thing touches another. So what I'm going to try to do as I tackle these is kind of combine some different dynamics of sort of the same thing. And so some of the subject groupings we're going to be talking about are things like emotionalism, overreaction, and assumption. Another big one that really is central to much of the other ones are the issues of things like pride, ego, a self-focus. Also, the influence of isolationism, and which leads to a lack of compassion, and also extremism, and the influence of bias, as I mentioned before, that's unrecognized, that's unrealized, or biases that we have that we don't know that are there, and that therefore control us or impact us, and we don't know that they're doing that. And I'm sure in the midst of all of this, we will probably come up with some more, and I'll probably be asking you for some input as maybe other things that you would like us to discuss. And as you might have picked up from just listening to this list, this journey really isn't going to be about pointing our fingers at others and blaming them, whoever them happen to be in your context, in your world. It's really about taking a deep look in the interior of our own hearts and minds to see what bricks are stuck there, and to make a conscious, intentional effort to dislodge those things and get rid of them. Because there is one reality there's no way to get around. As much as we would like to get other people to come around to our way of thinking, the only person's perspective, attitude, and actions that we have any control over whatsoever is our own. So if we're going to see change in the world, if we're going to see positive influence, that's where we have to start. And then out of that, model that kind of thing for those around us. And I can say after 30 years of teaching about soul stuff like this, I know how difficult that is for the majority of people. Sometimes it's almost impossible. Sometimes the dynamics that people have developed for navigating their lives create a wall for themselves that they have a hard time seeing through. And sometimes when they're able to see changing long-held attitudes, beliefs, and values can feel kind of like death, or like a betrayal either of self or our family or upbringing, or even aspects of our faith. The reality is there's no growth without struggle. There's no struggle is pleasant in the moment, but anything that's not growing is dying. Simple stasis is an illusion. And growth is sometimes tough. And so that's sort of why we're approaching this whole thing as a community. Even though this teaching series is going to be a little bit of an aside from the main theme of what we're doing and the main approach we're taking with 21st Century Disciple, it really is about doing this in community and being that group of people for each other that can help us move forward. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and love your neighbor as yourself. And those are so critical to our understanding of what it means to be a disciple and to do good in the world, is start with us, start with me. And it's in that spirit that we're going to approach the series Bricks in the Wall. I'm really, really excited about this journey ahead. I hope that you are too. I hope you're already catching the energy from that's going into this and the heart that's going into it, and that you'll join us and be a part of this brand new community that I think is ultimately going to be a huge blessing to a lot of people. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the first installment of Bricks in the Wall.